So I'm just going to use this one to kind of talk about this. So this is one that has a lot of this texture idea in it, okay? We've got, so if you look in here, this brush is probably just the chalk brush that's in there. Maybe this one is. These little dots are actually the Gravedigger brushes, which is supposed to be for like, and so is this little line down here. So they don't think inside the box with what those are. So these are the Gravedigger brushes, like right here. There's a whole bunch of those, all those. Don't just think like, oh, those are just to do an etching style thing. They're not. You can use them for all different types of things. Like here, that's also an etcher brush right there. Back to the chalk brush. This is probably the chalk brush showing that texture on the tree. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, so another thing, let's look at this.
Yep.
I'm gonna take this. Okay, so I have my Gravedigger brushes over here. I have my artistic ink. If you look at these artistic ink brushes, they're kind of interesting. So let's take like this one. They can give you some nice, just random spatter and random texture and all that kind of thing, okay? I like these a lot. I don't know if they're pressure sensitive because I haven't used them that way. And then they just give you a lot of ink spatters and just different things like that, okay? We already know the Gravedigger brushes. The gouache brushes give you that sort of broken gouache edge. But what I want you to think about, let's take this. So I got to unlock this, hang on. Let's go. I got a clipping mask on this, and which is what I want to talk about. I'm going to release that. And there's the file. Let's get rid of this type for now. I'm going to grab, let's just grab this. So I'm going to grab maybe these. Oh, that's a symbol. Now you guys can see that's a symbol brush. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's got that box around it, okay? So that's another way. Remember, we can just spray some leaves, whatever it is we're going to do. It could be texture too. Like, get creative with that. So let's take these two. See if I can ungroup them. Now I'm going to make this bigger. And then I'm going to, let's see if we can, I'm just going to combine all these. Actually, I need them really big. Actually, let's make it real quick. Let's go. It's going to make one big leaf. And let's say that we have this and we want to give it some texture. But I don't mean just, and I'm going to make a mask on this. I'm going to lighten this up. I'm just going to give it a green. And then I'll go a little darker green on it for my texture. I want to keep it in the same family, so I'll just pull it down from here. And I'm going to use this as a mask. And I'm going to come in here and go, let's take my gouache brush. Oops. That's fine. So now I got a stroke there. So now I'm going to go, that's actually not too bad. Hang on. And this could be the way I break up the leaf, or we've talked about breaking the leaf in half. That's not too bad. So maybe I'll do, oops. Maybe I'll just do it on either side, because I don't want to just always fill it. I want to think about, and this side, if it was sort of a bent one, this would actually get lighter. Oops. I'm going to change that out a little bit there. Now I'm going to take this. I'm going to pull all these over here. I'm going to take this. Make sure that's on top. Select all of them. Object. Now you can either go here to object clipping mask, or you can just go Command 7. Okay? And now I've made a clipping mask out of that. And I can start controlling my textures a little more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to start combining these things. Now, another thing we can do is we can come in here and let's go back over our, okay. I'm going to turn off this type again. Or actually, I'll put the layer here. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to grab, let's see, I had a cool corner one. Let's just grab, I want a cool texture, hang on. Let's do this one, because this will really show up, or maybe that one. Okay, so these are basically just high-res texture scans or whatever, right? Now you can make these yourself. They're bitmap. Now in here they're PNG, but if I open these in Photoshop, so let's do this one. And I go up here to mode, it says bitmap, okay? What that does is when you bitmap it, it actually makes it smaller, and it also makes it able to do this. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go here, and I'm just gonna pick orange. I can change these textures or whatever I want. Then I can come in here if I want and go transparency, and I can go through these again and it'll give me different things. But, so you see right there, it's getting sort of random color when I do different overlays, okay? I like to play with that because sometimes, like I like this little warmth over here it's getting. But if you want to control it more, the good thing about this being able to change color is, I don't know if you guys remember when we did that Pokemon thing and we did the shadow values, and we did them in gray and did a multiply. You guys remember that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to make these a neutral gray. Like let's say that, or even lighter maybe. Because now when I go to my overlay, I can control it a little more as far as how I want to handle this texture. Okay, so now you see I'm getting a little more texture back in here. And I could clipping mask that. I could take it off of here and just put it in the sky, or I could just put it on the hill. Because once you make these shapes, if you're managing your layers right, when you're making these shapes, you can start using those things as masks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's nice here on the tree. Okay, so I might mask that off and use it on the tree, not over my whole thing, or maybe I would, I don't know. Okay, I also put in here where is it? More stuff. This is some coffee stains, and then I think I also put on yours, I'll have to double check, I think I put like a matte fold. Pretty sure I put in there, so it looks like one of those folds you get when you fold up a piece of paper. And that one's an EPS file, but you could convert it to a bitmap. If you guys, does everybody know how to do that, to convert it to a bitmap?
From Photoshop.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I have to remember myself, but let's go, I'll just take something. Let's take this Bernie Wrightson thing. I'm gonna pull it into Photoshop, if I can remember how to do it. And then I'm gonna go up here to grayscale, discard color information. And then it gives me this bitmap option. I don't think 72, I'd probably go 300, I can't remember, but I'd go 300. And then I hit okay, and you can see what it does to it. Sorry, the phone's ringing. It picks up, it does this, and I know it looks funky. This is a low-res file, by the way. And I know it looks funky, but it's weird when you put it into Photo or Illustrator, you know, at a high res, it'll actually not look all pixelated like that. It'll look fine. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to remember is when you take it into Photoshop, you've got to convert it to grayscale, okay? Otherwise, it can't do it. And what that does is, if I drop a regular file in here, like that, and I go make it orange, you see it doesn't do anything, okay? It won't change it. So when you change it to bitmap, it changes it, okay? And again, I might come in here. I'm gonna get rid of that clipping mask again for a second. Clipping mask release. And I'm gonna grab this. Let's just grab this. And sometimes I do take these into another folder. And I'm gonna go, I probably don't care about the green parts. I'm gonna go ungroup. That just might have a clipping mask on it. No, it doesn't. Okay, there it goes. Because the part I'm really concerned with is the actual trunk itself. And I can either go what we just, so here's the next thing I want to do. I'm going to get rid of this. I don't need that right now. I really don't need any of this line or anything. Because all I'm going to do is take this, go to Pathfinder. I'm going to combine them. And then I can either go back to, let's try my gouache brushes. Hang on a sec. I want to make a solid line. Let's go here. I'm gonna make this really light, and then I will knock it down. I don't like that one. It's not scattered enough. That's a little better. And maybe I'll go a little bigger, actually. That's better. And then again, I'm going to take this, go up, Command 7, or go to Clipping Mask. Then I could come back in here and pop it. Should actually be on the other side, so let's go. And I know that's too much, but I want to make sure I'm making my point. The light's on that side. By the way, you guys, when you have a clipping mask, when you double click the object you want to manipulate, it will go into this in edit mode. So you don't have to unclip it and all that stuff. So I could go here and go, that looks a little too fat, which I think it does. And go, I'm going to push it over a little bit. And it's also too orange, but that's okay. And then double click outside of it, and it just goes back. And then I'm going to try, let me try something right here. I'm going to try and go, that's probably the most scattered one. Okay, does that make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're making the clipping mask, do you put the shape that you're using to cut out over the texture?
Yeah, the clipping mask, whatever you're going to use, no matter how you're doing this, the clipping mask has to be the top object. Okay? So whenever you're doing that, select your clipping mask and go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And then you have to select all of them together. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so look. If I go back here, let's go back again. I'm trying to get back to hang on, I haven't saved this. I'm just going to reopen it. Let's go to Okay, so you got to get strategic with this. So there was one I liked, and I wrote down a note to myself, and I forgot to bring it with me. Let's go here. Let's go. Oops. Let's go file. Let's put that new, or go back to the new layer right here. And I put this in between the type and the mains because I don't want all my texture all over my type in this case. Because I already put a texture in the type here, which, by the way, that interior texture of the type right there, that's also a etching brush. But I like the way it got sort of a stylized barky kind of thing. Okay? Now, I'm going to go here because some of these have, I don't know where my, the one I gave you guys with the, I'll make sure that it was in there. If you don't get one that looks like a creased map or creased piece of paper, let me know because I thought I put that in there. I think it's actually cool for this project. And maybe I'll bitmap one and I'll put one in as a, yeah, these are just coffee stains here. But these, you know, I could bring in, I could put my, I could put like one of these on there. Maybe two. And then I could put, let's see if we can overlay these. For now, I'm just going to try this. Okay, you can see I get a little coffee texture, or like, you know. And then what might be cool is to put like the that matte texture, that crease thing, and then maybe something like this. I want, it's chipboard. What I'm looking for here is, oh, right here, edge textures. Oh, no, that's not it. Hang on. Let's just do it this way. So I'm going to take, maybe this one. But I'm going to be more strategic how I place it. I'm going to change it to a gray. Oh, I'm online. Make sure you're not online. Keep doing that. And then again, I might try different overlays. I usually, when it's gray, I usually tend to try multiply right away. Now, I could go, that's too strong maybe. So I could go here, go a little lighter on it. Okay, so now I'm getting a little bit, let's block this out so it's not distracting. Same thing here, this is distracting. Now what I usually do, and I might have told you guys this, when I'm working like this, sometimes I will come on here so let's just do it this way. Let's get rid of these. And sometimes when I'm working on here, I think this stuff's distracting, but I don't want to contain everything yet. So I'll come up here, I'll go cover. I will go, I'll make my first, I'll just make a big shape to cover everything out like that. And then here's my pasteboard right there. So I'm just going to go right inside of that. And then I'm going to go Pathfinder, and I'm going to punch that out. So now I've got a cover layer that I can turn on and off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna lock that for a second. And I'm gonna go, okay, now I have this texture. Maybe I'll take another texture. Like this one, some of these lighter ones, like that might be better for like a bigger area if I want to kind of pull this in. Because I don't want everything to be uniform. So I'm going to come back here and go, where do my swatches go? Oh, there. Go back, I'm going to go to a light, pretty light value. And you're not stuck with just one, multiply. There's, try different things. Try giving it a color, overlaying it with color, and then doing an overlay, and that kind of stuff. Okay. So here I'm going to go back to my multiply again, and then I can either go, that's too much, I'll pull it back here with opacity, or again I can go here, and I'll go. Let's just make it a lighter value until it sits in the back like that. That's a little better. And then again, like if you go here, let's look at this real quick. I should have pulled this before class, but I forgot. Like, I think you did it here. This thing's gonna run out of time on me again. If I runs out of time, I just jump back into the room. That's what I do. See right here? Can you guys see that right there? Hang on. Right here. Of course, it's going to be 40 down. Here. You guys see how he did that creased map thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? I think Braden did one of these on his last one. I can't remember.
Yeah, I did.
Somebody did. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And, okay. So that all makes sense, correct?
Mhm.
This is a great guy to look at, by the way. Eric Tandis does really cool stuff. He's a little bit, and then again, I know I always go back to this guy. Actually, let's go here. So this guy, I don't know if I can get to read this. Okay, you see this like gouache broken texture? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically what we're doing here. It looks like he used these as a clipping mask. He went a little darker. This whole shape was one color. He went a little lighter on his gouache texture. Now he could be doing that on some of these. If you look at this guy's stuff, which is kind of interesting to me.
Mike, you got muted.
You got muted.
You got
You
muted
got muted
yourself.
on Zoom.
Might not.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
It also, God, this thing's annoying to have this many windows around. And that's how I'd start building up more of this texture, okay? So think about this. There's different ways you can do it. You can go, I'm gonna really concentrate on my textures on my organic stuff, or I'm gonna put like paper type textures over it and folds and things like that. You could do these kind of coffee ringy things. I don't think that I would use, or maybe I would. I don't know if I would use this overlay. It's a little, let's try this. Now this one, it's gonna be harder for me to change the color because look at this. By the way, this I pulled off a stock site, okay? So that means whoever made that, I don't know how much money they make. It's probably not a lot, but this probably took him 5 minutes to do. He literally scanned a coffee stain and image traced it. Remember we talked about image trace?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this is. Because if you look at it up close, see all those variations? That's just image trace. All this guy did is he scanned a bunch of coffee stains, he image traced them, and he loaded them up to a stock site. And why do I buy them? Because I can do the same thing. Because I don't want to take a half an hour. Okay? And the other thing is, if you're really on a job, okay, so here's another thing. If you're working in-house, they're going to be, let me flip here. Okay. If you're working in-house, they're going to more than likely have access to a stock site, okay, like Shutterstock. I have one to Shutterstock, but I only do 10 images a month. And I mostly do that for my classes, and I do it for my girlfriend's website or my girlfriend's restaurant. Because if she goes, we're going to do this announcement or something, I go, okay, I'll go get a picture of a guy throwing a pizza or something. I don't need to go do a photo shoot for that, okay? Or if I'm on a job in-house or even at home, but especially in-house because they usually have these access to this, and it's kind of an unlimited download thing. I'm just going to go get a coffee stain. I'm going to go get these textures. I'm going to go get this. I'm not going to go make them all. There's no reason for me to do that, okay? Now, there is a reason for me to do that when I want them to be very unique and I have a very specific way I want to do them. Then it's worth it for me. Or if I'm doing a really finished illustration and I want to do it my own way. Okay, that's different. But like a coffee stain, I don't need to go make a coffee stain if I can go get one for free. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Questions?
What is the advantage of doing like the clipping mask stuff as opposed to just drawing with the brushes inside the shape?
I think there's a couple things. One is just could be a stylistic point of view. Another is that if you're going to do like a random, okay, you just said the brush thing versus a placed object or whatever, right?
I mean, like you can take the brush and then click the draw within the shape.
Mm-hmm. You can do that.
Is there any advantages of doing like the masks and stuff like over that?
Here's the thing with all these programs, okay? You're just going to come up with the way you like to do it. Sometimes I go all over the place. Sometimes I do these place things. Sometimes I just paint it. Sometimes I clipping mask it. The advantage for me with clipping masking when I'm doing it like that is I'll just make a big mess or whatever, and then I'll just contain the whole thing, and I know it's going to sit in there nice, and I can feel a little looser. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
And then the other thing, the difference, and you probably already know this, but the difference between doing like those overlays that are coming out of Photoshop, the bitmaps, is those are really naturally random. They're not being constrained by the sort of the way Illustrator works, okay? Just like those coffee stains, if you zoom in on them, you can see like how it pieced all the shapes together. I like all that because what Illustrator tends to do is it sort of, I don't know, just it has its own sort of look. So as soon as you start going into it, it sort of changes things a little bit. And I like that.